Hey, it's Wei from the Six Figure Academy, and welcome to another week of Happy Snack at Noon, where we focus on helping you, the entrepreneur, or maybe not, uh, increase your money flow, optimize your mindset, and more importantly, little tidbits on how to create more life mastery, especially in the realm of happiness. And speaking of happiness, today's topic is about the burning question that sometimes when we observe people that are consistently happy around us, and eventually you'll get to a point it's like, God, what do they know that I don't? In other words, what do happy people know? And what spurred this topic was, I did some traveling to visit family over this past weekend, and I noticed that how because I do this work, I mean, it only makes sense that, I do my best to, live a life that's happy. And a lot of what I do with my students and clients is helping them get to a point where they are more consistently happy than not, especially when it comes to their financial happiness, their health happiness, their life happiness. And so what we want to talk about today is, what I noticed when I was kind of going around publicly, because California is starting to open up a little bit. I started interacting with people, and there are people who I could vibe with because they had this outlook on life that perpetuated happiness. And then there were people that I interacted with that did not have that same thing. And it was like pulling teeth. Now, the cool thing is that if you're one of those people that are consistently happy, eventually the people around you will kind of start vibing your direction. What makes it hard is you got to fight that propensity to have being pulled down to that frequency that is not a happy frequency. So let's talk a little bit about what is it that people know. Now, these are just a few things, but what I'm going to talk about today are very important points that are kind of the fundamentals of what happy people know consistently across the board. And how I know that is not just from my own experiences and how I create a happy lifestyle that I continue to work on. And because I'm human, it's not always 100% happy, but also with my students and all my clients that are wanting to have a happier lifestyle. And these fundamental points that I'm going to cover today are things that they kind of create as a foundation, the fundamentals of what happy people know. Okay. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is that it's a kind of like a broken record that I say to my clients and students all the time, to the point where they're like, okay, Wei, I'm tired of hearing it. And it's about self-care. What happy people know, first and foremost, is how to take care of themselves and how to prioritize their self-care. And that's not to be confused with selfishness or self-centeredness or self-absorption. That actually are not contributors to happiness. We're talking about self-care. We're talking about people who know that when it's time to take a break, when it's time to get some rest, when it's time to meditate, and prioritize those components so that they can keep themselves in a happy place. When people are on a burnout track and when people are consistently sacrificing their own self-care for the sake of making money, for the sake of even working out, knowing when to have a rest day and not constantly working out because they're trying to hit a specific goal. And if they don't hit it, they beat themselves up. So it's knowing those types of things and knowing to prioritize your well-being first and foremost. When you are able to do that, that means that you can stay consistently happy, which means that you can be a better person to the other people that you love and care about in your life. You could be a better partner. You could be a better parent. You could be better to your parents. You could be a better friend. You could be a better boss. You could be a better employee, all across the board. And all that comes from what happy people know is to prioritize self-care. So that's the number one thing right there. Okay, knowing when to say no and knowing when to say yes. Which leads to the next point, is what happy people know is that they know to take responsibility as much as possible for everything that happens in their life. In other words, what happy people don't do is they don't play victim to circumstances that happen to them. Even if it happens to them and it's out of their control, they still do their best to take as much responsibility. The happiest people in the world are the ones who are able to consistently take 100% responsibility for anything that happens to them, anything that they do, all the consequences, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I say the good too, because it's also important to be willing to take responsibility for the good that happens as well as the bad or the ugly, right? So what happy people know is to take 100% responsibility as much as possible and to the best of their capability. Now, remember, happy people are human too, consistently happy people. And so, yes, are they always that way? No. I mean, they will tell you, first and foremost, are you always happy? Like, no, there are days that I don't feel that happy. And I know what to do my best to get there faster. Okay? What else do happy people know? Happy people also know that life is in flux. What I mean by that is this, is that life is ever evolving, is ever changing. You know, there are people who believe and hope and want life to consistently stay the same. They want things that, like what we're dealing with recently with what's going on in the world. I just want things to get back to normal. Well, good luck, because life is always in flux, just like nature. Life is ever evolving, ever changing. If you look at the world, if you look at the physical world and what nature has done to the world is never going to be the same from one moment to the next. So what is normal? Well, what happy people know is that life is always going to be in flux. And the more we're able to activate what I like to call the law of requisite variety, he or she who is most adaptable, the human being that is the most adaptable and most flexible, controls the system. But doesn't necessarily controls the system outside of them, controls the system of self, which is the number one area that is responsible for creating the world of happiness that you want. So life being in flux is what happy people know, is to embrace the fact that things are always shifting, things are always changing, and the more we're able to ebb and flow with the flux of life, the happier you will be. Okay? Now, what's one more thing? Let's talk about one more thing that happy people know. Happy people know, just like most people do in their homes, know to take out the trash. And what I mean by that, we're not just talking about taking out the trash, and I'm pointing this direction because that's where my trash can is. We're not talking about just about taking out the trash of the house or the kitchen or whatever the case may be, the weekly trash routine, but taking out the trash of the mind. See, one of the biggest shifts in humanity's longevity and how we shifted to live longer is when we realized it was more that to live longer, we have to do more than just keep our environment clean and keep our environment sanitary. We also have to be willing to keep the mind clean, the ecosystem of self, internal system, clean. Be willing to take out the trash of the mind. Remember, we are human beings. We interact with a lot of other human beings, well, most of us do. And as such, we come across a lot of information, a lot of data. For example, just spend one night watching the news in full earnest and absorbing everything, guarantee there's some trash that you'll need to take out of your mind. I often have to caution my mom, who is still struggling with this because she's older and most of what she does is just watch TV. And she ends up reaching out and telling me all this trash about what she's watching in the news. And then I have to tell her, remind her, hey, you got to take that trash out because not everything that you hear in the news is objective. It is skewed, usually to the negative, because that's what sells. Okay, so what happy people know is that they know to consistently have systems or resources in place, such as the stuff that we talk about in our camp at the Six Figure Academy with our Prosperity Breakthrough System and everything, about techniques and strategies on how to consistently take the trash out of the mind on a regular basis. As long as you are alive and you are human and you're interacting with the world around you, you will accumulate trash. And depending on what kind of belief systems or baggage or bad money stories you have carried on with you, or stories in general from your childhood through your experiences, it will also intensify the amount of trash that accumulates and the expediency of how much trash accumulates over time. And so what happy people know to do is to consistently, on a regular basis, let things go by taking out the trash of the human mind. Okay. when you are able to get these fundamentals of prioritizing self-care, recognizing that life is in flux, being willing to take 100% responsibility, and consistently take out the trash of the human mind, then you will start to be able to join the ranks of what happy people know to stay consistently happy. So, hopefully you found that to be helpful. I think that's a good enough snack for this week. Happy snack at noon. Would love to hear your comments of other things. If you're one of those consistently happy people, and you have other things that you know consistently works, not just for you, but for other people that you are happy with, I would love to hear it. Please share in the comments below. Or if there's a particular happy snack that you would like to hear about or like me to talk about, put that in the comments below too, and I'll use that for a future happy snack session. Other than that, have a fantastic week, and hopefully make sure you subscribe so you don't miss another happy snack at noon. And other than that, I'll see you next week for another happy snack at noon. See ya.